an AppleVis original.
Hello and welcome to AppleVis AppleCrunch. And my name is Thomas Domville, also known as AnonyMouse. And along with me, I found a couple guys here that came along with me to do this month AppleCrunch. Let's bring in Marty. How you doing, Marty?
Hey, Thomas. How's it going? I'm good. Thank you.
I like that. You're quick, simple, and fast, just like that.
Yeah, boom, boom.
And then we have John Gassman on the other end. How you doing, John?
Just to be different, I'll say that I really suck today. But
really,
yeah.
Well, I was kind of.
I don't really.
You don't. I don't think you do.
No,
it's been a wonderful month, Tom. It's Thanksgiving time here in the States, and getting the old turkey ready. I don't know, something, guys. Be creative.
We have a lot to be thankful for this year. I'll say that.
Yes, lots of fun new Apple products.
Among
That's
other
true.
things, yes.
That is true.
Because we're going to have apple pie for dessert on Thanksgiving.
That is true.
Oh, that was good. That was good. You're going to have
whatever you do, don't rest it on your iPhone screen.
That's true. And make sure you also don't go crunch, crunch, crunch into your iPhone screen when you're eating your apple pie.
Or unless you've got insurance.
Well, then you can, then you get a $50 break on
Yes.
physical damage.
Yeah.
There you have it. There you have it. Well, I can safely say I still don't have an iPhone 16, guys. Nope.
Oh, you don't?
I know. No, I still haven't.
You're outnumbered then, Thomas, because we do.
Are you both on iPhone 16 now?
I got the Pro on Wednesday, the 20th of November. And in fact, my 14 is now a brick. And I'm going to send it in or take it in and get the nice little money that Verizon's giving me. So
there you go. And John, what day and date did I get my iPhone 16 on? No, I'm just kidding. I got mine, I don't know, shortly after the last time recorded, probably about a month ago, I would say.
So you both have, let's see, now, you say you got an iPhone 16 Pro?
I did get the 16 Pro, yes.
Yes, both of us did. So we're looking forward to all the December AI stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Well, okay, you guys are, well, actually, you should be already, well, we'll talk more about that.
And by the way, is there a list of all that stuff that's coming in December somewhere? There must be somewhere, but I can't remember where it is. But.
Well,
I'll tell you what, we'll cover it today. How about that?
There you go.
Yep, and 18.2 that's coming up in December, we will talk about what you need to know about Apple Intelligence and what you don't really want to know about 18.1 Apple Intelligence. So we will talk about that. But first, we had our first ever AppleVis survey, basically just kind of asking our community what they think of AppleVis and kind of help us trying to figure out what we can do better in AppleVis and what kind of things would they like to see coming up in the upcoming years for AppleVis. And it turned out to be a pretty busy little survey. Lots of people came on and left great responses. And of course, there's always a few out there that, we'll just leave them out, but that left us not so good rating. But nonetheless, the overall experience of AppleVis was pretty good. It was 96% tile that people thought the AppleVis was great in terms of experience. And that was not to be a surprise. Did that surprise you guys at all?
Not really. I think the majority of the people really like what AppleVis does and what they have to offer. And like anything, anywhere you go, nothing's perfect. So you're not going to make everyone happy all the time. So that's a pretty high number, I would say, for the majority.
Thank you, Marty. Not going to make everybody happy. That is definitely right. There's always a few that, can I say rotten apples?
There you go.
They wouldn't be happy unless they were unhappy.
There you go. Yep. Let's see the experience. How about contents that AppleVis Editorial provides? That was at 94%. And then the one that doesn't surprise me at all is what do you feel about the climate tone of AppleVis in terms of the forum discussion and things like that? That means that do you feel like his toxicity level is high, or do you feel like that it's great or not? But this didn't surprise me at all. And it was at 72%. And I know that is an area that we have been working very hard ever since we reopened AppleVis 2.0. And really, a couple people actually noticed the difference since we reopened, and they actually put that in the survey and say, hey, we have noticed that and we appreciate that. And so we're trying really hard to get that number way back up because we really want to get people back on. And I realized back in the days, we did have some pretty toxicity people on there. And so we're trying to put a clamp down on those people just to tell them down, either tone it down or, unfortunately, you're just not welcome to AppleVis. And so that way more people will feel more welcome to it. So I'm sure you guys probably seen toxicity issues before in AppleVis, have you not?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but what are you going to do? I mean, I
Don't
go back to what I said, like you're not going to make everybody happy all the time. And in typical, virtual world fashion, we'll call it, people feel like they can say or do whatever they want behind a keyboard,
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, I've even noticed it and you guys notice it. And that means everybody knows. I mean, it's not a hidden secret at all that there has been some pretty terrible responses that were not helpful, or like we get silly responses like, I'm getting a Mac. What would you recommend? Because I'm coming from Windows, and they're all saying, I would never go to Mac, blah, 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 blah. And I understand that you can have a conversation, but not necessarily a debate. This is not a debate. This is people asking specific questions. They want to get answers and don't want to be hogged down or tied up with all these nonsense that, Windows is better for you and things like that. Once you made your mind up, you made your mind up. And so we are trying very hard to get that under control. I would like to hear from everybody. If you guys have noticed any improvements, send us an email, applecrunch@applevis.com. I'd like to hear from you, what's your thoughts if things have been improved. If you ever do find anything like that, if somebody is being obnoxious or toxic to other people, report it to us. And that way we can handle the situation and try to get things back in line. So with that, and then of course, would you recommend AppleVis to others? And that also got a 96 percentile. Now, I would be curious out of you guys. We did ask, what are your favorite parts of AppleVis? What do you come to AppleVis for? So we gave you the option of one or two areas of AppleVis. And so I'm curious what you guys think. What made you come to AppleVis? What's your most favorite part?
I would say when you're looking for specific apps or when there's app reviews and you have someone reviewing an app that will run through not only the functionality of the app, how it works, but whether it works well with or without voiceover. Because, that's kind of at the end of the day, the basis of what AppleVis is. And, you could go down a rabbit hole trying to find apps, and whether they work with voiceover or not, you could be spending a lot of time and money trying to figure that out on your own. So, I appreciate that people go and try to figure that out and put a actual real post about specific apps and say how well they work or don't work. It's great for the consumer, but it's also great for the developers. If they're open-minded to it, then maybe they'll fix their apps and make them work better for everyone. So,
how about you, John?
I like the apps a lot, the review of the apps. I like the podcast so that you can get a basic hands-on with what the app or feature is going to work like. And I also really like the description of the Apple updates, because most of the time you're not going to get the voiceover related stuff from Apple. You're only going to get that on AppleVis because that's the audience we're going for.
Definitely. And if you're looking for like an audio kind of walkthrough on how things work, there's someone, Thomas, we won't name names here, who does a great job of doing some audio tutorial and walkthroughs on there that are, great to listen to and kind of do a deep dive on, certain apps and the way things work and stuff like that. So good job to you. You should get a gold star on the refrigerator.
Absolutely. You should be nominated to the Thomas Domville Hall of Fame.
Into the gold star on the refrigerator. We'll call it the gold star award.
Oh gosh. I agree with both of you. I think a lot of people agree is that the one thing that AppleVis really shine is what new app is out there that we need to know about that is really accessible. So, I mean, I know that more times than not, there's games that comes up. I would have never known about the games if it wasn't been posted on AppleVis. So I think a lot of people can say the same thing. Now, there are obviously mainstream apps that we will try. I'm not going to mention any of the social platform, but they're just your typical ones, and you just download it and you just try it. But sometimes you just don't know about something. That's what AppleVis shines. But you're right. So here is in order what people voted for being the most usable or the most favorite thing on AppleVis. And I was surprised. AppleVis podcast was number one. I really was surprised. App Directory was number two. That didn't surprise me at all. The AppleVis blog, so I think that hits right there with what John was saying. So you know what all the new Apple products, and not only that, but what accessibility new things and what's been broken on each version of iOS. So I can see why people like that a lot. That obviously includes lots of other things for blogs. And then the discussion board. So that is the top 4 that people came to vote on what their favorite section. So yeah, the forum, obviously that's probably our biggest and busiest section, where we get people to come and comment and leave questions and things like that. That doesn't surprise me too, as probably a huge, I would say, % of everyday traffic is just based on the discussion forum. The most requested items that people would like to see AppleVis implement, and obviously the number one, and I knew this would probably be the one everybody wanted, is AppleVis having its own app. We've been wanting that forever and ever and ever, and due to cost and things like that, has always been hindered. But you never know. It's something that we will definitely take to Be My Eyes and see if that's something that's ever going to be possible, or if they would be able to have the time and resource to do that. That would be beautiful. So that's the number one request that they would like to see for AppleVis. The other 2 items are more realistic, and I think we might be able to incorporate it, and that is a multi-language. And we have been kind of teasing about that, just trying to get some thoughts out there and try to make AppleVis come in all different flavors of languages around the world. I mean, how cool would that be? I think that would be huge. Have multiple lingual people coming in, be able to type in natively whatever you're that you speak in, and you just put in French, and then we come in and we're looking at it and it just translated on the fly. That would be ideal. Would love that. And then of course the other one that those would probably be the AI, if we can get the AI incorporated into the search, meaning that it would do a lot like what you see in a lot of the AIs nowadays, where they have certain data set that you can just type in, and it's just all about AppleVis. So anytime you type in something, it will pull up anything that was mentioned. So I can get creative. Like, I want a fantasy game that deals with role playing, and it'll bring it up, and that are accessible. That would be nice, and that would bring that up in those results. So those are the top 3. I mean, that doesn't really surprise me. I think that that's been on mind for a lot of people. Was there anything missing from those 3 that you guys thought?
I can't think of anything else right now.
Nope, I can't.
Now, is that something? I mean, what was your top ones? If you had to pick, what would you like to see on the roadmap for AppleVis?
I think the languages is a great idea because it just broadens, the amount of people and the places where you can have the people come from. I mean, that would be the real kind of definition of AppleVis being worldwide, really, at that point.
Right. So yes. So those are definitely on our roadmap, as in we are going to sit down and talk about among the team and the technical team with the Be My Eyes and see if we can do any of that. And nothing's ever guaranteed, but it is something that we like to kind of just dangle to our carrots to Be My Eyes, say here what they really want. And we would love to see these improvements if that can be done. So hopefully within the next month or two, we'll have a sit-down conversation with Be My Eyes, a technical group, and we'll try to figure out what we can do from here and on out. We have introduced something new this month. If a lot of you probably haven't seen, we now have existing podcast submissions. So if you aren't aware that the community can submit their own podcast to us for us to review and then post it on your behalf on AppleVis site. I don't think a lot of people know that. So we also introduced something new this month called blog submission. So if you're a writer and you've always wanted to be seen or have your talent in a way that be present to thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that come to AppleVis to be seen. So you can submit those blogs to us. Those can be found within the AppleVis site itself. So we now have those two features for you to also participate. So it isn't just a Tom show. I don't want it to be a Thomas show. I want everybody to commit. And if you want to do a podcast, submit it to us. I would love to have you out there because this is a community-driven AppleVis site. So we want to make sure that everybody gets heard. Now, let's talk about what John was talking about earlier. Apple Intelligence has arrived. Yes, it did. 18.1 dropped last month, guys. And I'm positive, well, you both have your iPhone 16, so I would think you're on 18.1. You both on that?
I definitely am.
Well, let's talk about bugs first before we get to anything else. So oh gosh, I can't believe we are talking about this kind of bug. This is a bug that I'm just kind of shaking my head at Apple and say, how in the world does this slip? And that is giving the ability to move apps within folders cannot be done, not in 18.1. And I was like, this is insane. There is a workaround. And if you use the drag and then you open up the folder and then try to drop it within the folder, it should work. It doesn't work every time, but it should work half the time. But if you try to say drop in folder, it won't work at all. It's just broken. And that's just, isn't that an eye-rolling moment? It's like, how did that get past the quality testers on Apple of something that's so basic, staple of VoiceOver? I don't know. What do you guys?
Well, here's a thing that's even crazier than that.
And apparently they fixed it for 18.2.
This bug was in 17 actually, and it took them a while to fix it, but they finally did fix it, and now they broke it again in 18. So, I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like, how could you break something that's basic like this? I would figure that wouldn't you think the size of Apple would have a dedicated team? They have a set checklist, and these guys, their life is got to be boring. But you go through this checklist. The checklist is that swipe right, swipe left, swipe up, do 2-finger tap, move this, move that. I would think there'd be a checklist every version, but apparently
I would agree with you 100%. Yeah. There should be.
There should be, but in terms of testing betas, and we've all tested betas, stuff slips sometimes through the cracks, and it's not intentional, but it just does. Then it becomes, how quickly can you fix it? And that's a major item for a lot of people. So assuming that it really is fixed in 18.2, we don't have too much longer to wait.
And the thing that's, also disappointing is that you would think that if it did slip out on the internal beta, right, at least it would get picked up by the public beta and the people out there testing, and then they would fix it before it went to GM. But now they let it go all the way to GM.
Well, it wasn't all the way through 18.1 beta. I will say that. It was broken like midway process. And sometimes I know those last beta 2 version of beta, that's when they kind of start cleaning things up and says any more bugs at this point doesn't get fixed. We're just now cleaning up necessary things. I want to say it broke right around that process. So it was in the latter part of 18.1 beta testing when we saw that being broken. I know for sure that people reported it, but my problem is that I considered that a huge problem. So I think that should have been slipped into the GM because that is a major problem. That is not something, a minor bug. This is a serious bug. I think anything that's serious have to do with voiceover needs to be addressed and put in those other security things that needs to be put in for the last GM. I think it should be right up there, but I just feel like they don't. It's just a shame. And the other part that I noticed too is that it does involve Apple Intelligence, is that if you try to summarize something, so if you want to summarize an email or a web page, well, it will summarize it. You just don't see it. There's no result. It just says loading and you don't see the results. Now, if you were to do a copy, you then paste it somewhere so you could see the results. But again, that is a new huge release in 18.1 as an Apple Intelligent item. I would like to say that all major features that comes out in a version like 18.1 should be fully accessible at that point.
Yeah, I figured I was doing something wrong when I first saw the prompts the other day, but evidently not.
No, it's just like, are you kidding me? So those were the 2 major bugs that we had. But John kind of hinted, and we'll get to 18.2 in a minute here, about some of the things in 18.1 I think people really like were the call recording, being able to record phone calls. And this is for everyone. This is not just for those with Apple Intelligent devices. This is for all devices out there can now record phone calls. So I thought that was pretty slick. And that includes the transcription. So transcription is part of that as well. I know John had some questions, and I know I had to help him try to find the record button. Did you ever get that down packed?
Yeah, I think I did. It took a while at first to find where stuff was.
Right.
It wasn't intuitive, but maybe they'll change it around and make it intuitive down the line. But at least the capability is there.
That keypad was hiding it. Now, what's strange, John, is that in the earlier beta, I didn't have to hide the keypad. It was right there at the top left every single time. So with the keypad up or down, it was always at the top left. When the GM dropped, that's when they changed it or broke it. I don't know either one. And that's when I found out you had to hide the keypad in order to see the record button at the top left. So it's just fascinating how things change. And it's so hard for us to know, was that a bug or is that a change? So we don't know.
Yeah, I actually came across a pretty major bug. I don't think as many people know about it because not everyone uses it. But the bug that I have found is that when you go to send money with Apple Cash, so say, for example, I'm going to send Thomas money, and I use Siri, and I say, send Thomas $100, and it will say that it doesn't work, and then you go to look, and then it ended up sending it twice. So that's pretty bad.
Are you serious? Was that consistent?
Really?
Yeah, we tried it on 2 different accounts on 2 different phones, and the same thing happened both times.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would definitely.
So be careful, people. Like, if you're sending money, make sure you pay attention if you're using Apple Cash and that it's doing what it's supposed to do.
That I will have to write down and send to the team and see if we can't reproduce that in 18.2, see if that's fixed. So you're serious? So if I would send you $1, it would send it twice?
Yeah, you'll get a notification like Siri will say it didn't work, and it'll seem like it made an error that it didn't send. But then you go look in the list, and it shows that it actually sent it twice.
Wow.
Wow, I'm thank you for reporting that, and I'm sure our listeners out there would appreciate that. I know I've used Apple Pay on it, and I didn't have any problem with it. It must be just when you're sending cash to someone.
Yeah, well, I was sending someone some cash, and that's how I
Okay.
found out. And then we said, "Whoa, this is crazy! What is happening here?" And we looked and saw that it sent twice. So we went and recreated the same exact situation on a different phone with a different account and everything, and it did the exact same thing.
Well, you're just paid up for 2 months now.
There you go.
Now, are you sure that the prompt was correct and that it actually did send it twice and not just the one time?
Yeah, because it shows in the list, like when you open up the body of the text message. So if I was to say if I was to say to S lady, send, what was the term I used? Apple Pay Thomas $100, right? When you go into the body of the message, when you're all done, it shows it twice. So there's two of those Apple Pay icons that show that it's got sent 2 times and not only 1 time.
And you're
So,
sure
John, I want to see after this podcast, send me $10 and we'll see if it did it twice.
But
I was
just
just-
because it
I
says
was
it sent it
joking.
twice,
I'll
maybe
take
it doesn't send it the second time.
Well,
I don't
You'd
know.
have to go to your bank, I guess, wouldn't you, to find out for sure if it actually did get sent or...
Well, the other person on the other end received the double payment and went,
Oh, okay.
this is not right. And
Yeah.
then tried to recreate the problem, but then it double paid it back, like doing the same exact thing. It was kind of weird.
Maybe it only works
Interesting.
right if there's a certain amount. Like if you send $5,000, maybe it just sends it once, so.
Well, maybe Thomas can send each one of us $5,000 and
Yeah.
we'll see if it works.
I think we should, in the interest of science.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
also then he can report that, to AppleVis, and then they can work on it from there,
Exactly. And you'll see bounce said twice. Yeah. We'll do that. I'll do that. Sure. How about those are the non-Apple Intelligence stuff? Now the writing tools, guys. Now this was the one thing I was looking for. I'll be honest, I was so on it. What do you guys have you guys used the writing tools?
I have a little bit,
I have
and
not.
it's so. I agree with you, but I'm not going to give it a full, review because I really want to see what happens when they actually do the full integration of ChatGPT. That's when I think the big change will happen, and that's what I want to see how that's going to work because
Exactly.
we're supposed to get a lot more control over editing tools and what we can do and things like that. And I want to see what that experience is like opposed to just using the regular ChatGPT everyone's been using, because this is going to kind of
Exactly.
be the first experiment or whatever you want to say in like a native situation. Usually you got to go out to ChatGPT, do your thing, copy the text, bring it back into whatever editor, and then go from there. And you got to prompt it a bunch of times. I want to see what a native experience is like when it all happens, with notes or wherever, and you don't have to keep going back and forth, copying and pasting, prompting, and back and forth and all that.
Good news, Marty. I will be talking about just that when we talk about 18.2 coming up. And I will say it's night and day difference. So in 18.1, the writing tools is so. Like Marty and I have mentioned here, is just the problem I have with it is that I feel like they tried. It's unfortunate. It doesn't feel like it's full, like the full kahunas that they could have put into it. It seems like it's half-baked. It's hard to describe it. It's like it's so. If I tried to get prompt to rewrite something in other AI, it does a much better results than what Apple does. I don't know if that's intentional. Maybe they didn't want to be as heavy-handed, something like the other ones do. Maybe they were trying to make it as light as it can be to make it like fair in the middle. Yeah. I give it 3 out of 5 when it comes to prompting. It does a decent job. It's okay. I like how GPT does it. But anywho, the writing tools nonetheless is a great first step. Do I think Apple's going to make it better? I don't know. I have a hunch they aren't. It seems like when they release something, they're done with it. Not always, but it just seems like, let's just take sports, for example, Apple Sport. If you guys ever played with that, you talk about half-baked. It's like really, this is the best you guys can do, and they don't really update it. It's been out for almost a year now, and I haven't seen any major updates to it, and it's just disappointing. And I just got a weird feeling it's going to be like that with this. Hopefully, they'll change that. But the smart reply, I find that to be pretty darn good. And that means if somebody were to text me or send me an email, right above your keyboard, it's a smart reply area. And it does a pretty good job and say, hey, are you in the mood for pizza tonight? And I can just look in that little smart reply area and it says, yeah, I would love that. It'll just say that, rather than just say yes, no, whatever. It does a pretty good, decent response back to the person. Have you guys played with a smart reply?
No.
Yeah.
I've not been smart enough to do that, I guess. I'll have to look into that.
I have
You're
a little
smart,
bit.
John.
I mean, I don't think that's anything really that new. I mean, everything's been doing that. Gmail's been doing that for a long time. A lot of things have been doing that for a long time. And so it's kind of just like a canned response, basically. I don't think
It
it's
is a
too
canned
impressive.
response.
Mhm.
I don't know, Marty. I think it's definitely a step up from what they had before.
Well, that's the
And
difference. Like, are we saying that Apple kind of came into what everybody else is doing, or is it actually like a major groundbreaking improvement? I think they just kind of caught up to what everyone else is doing and finally implemented that.
True.
Because
I mean,
Gmail's
that
been
is
doing that
true.
forever, you know?
Well, we've been talking about that. We've been talking about how when Apple Intelligence finally dropped in 18 in the WWDC, and that's when I found out it says, okay, you guys, you finally got the message. This is what everybody wants. But then we slowly to find out that they are so slow about rolling things out. And it's like, I don't know. But the smart reply is something that John, it's just you have this. It wouldn't work for me the first time, and that was because I had predictive typing turned off. So the predictive typing has to be turned on. So it's kind of a double-edged sword that if you like those smart replies, you have to turn the predictive text back on. So I don't know if you had that turned off.
No, I turned it off intentionally because I got tired of reading all the garbage that I wasn't going to use anyway. So I turned it off.
See,
Well,
and a lot of people don't understand how to set things up to make things work correctly. If you look at an average user, and this is the thing about the smart, text, and all of that stuff with the AI and everything, is, for example, you have to be able to use the rotor and understand how the rotor works. And a lot of times that gets lost in translation because the average person doesn't typically really know how to use the rotor, especially out of the box. It's hard to figure out how that works and how to make it, how to invoke it and all of that. I would say that's one of the things that people just get lost and don't either understand it. They don't use it because it's hard to do. They don't understand you can change how to use it, all of these things. And when you have something like that, that's kind of where the average people end up not using a thing, then the rest of what the features would be get lost and not really talked about that much. So it's kind of unfortunate in that sense.
Right.
You're right. I mean, this is probably going to be the big thing I'm going to say is that for voiceover users, I feel like we're being left behind in a way. And yeah, I say in a way. So hear me out first. I am so blessed and glad that Apple has the accessibility team make all those options work for us, like the writing tools and the smart reply. The problem I have is that, do you know how long it took me to figure out where in the heck the writing tool was? It wasn't obvious. It wasn't in plain sight. There's no indication like, hey, check out these new tools. Hey, voiceover users, you'll have to access this and this from here. Let's just take Smart Reply, for example. I could not find it for the life of me. I had to look, find an article and read what the visual sighted person had to do, and then kind of work backwards. Now, the writing tools wasn't even close. Who in the world would look under the edit rotor for writing tools? And some people will say, no, the writing tools, you can just do one finger triple tap, I think they said, or one tap, double tap. No, I got to think about this. One finger, double tap, hold, and then you might. About 50% of the time, it doesn't always work, but it always works. You can go to rotor edit, then the writing tools. So believe me, that probably took me days to figure out that. So you're leaving us to hunt for it. And just like Marty says, these are people that are very advanced in their iOS skills, and we had problems with this. Can you imagine trying to explain this to my mother or to a general users where these are? A lot of people would probably never use it because they didn't know it was there or where to find it. And that's the problem with a lot of these things that are coming out is I point my finger at Apple of not making it clear for us what's new and where to find things.
And that's where AppleVis podcasts come into play.
Definitely.
You know what?
Touché, John.
As easy as that may seem, you would think people listen to that. No, there's a lot of people that do not listen to the podcast and then will come to the site and ask those very same questions about such and such and such. But I guess that's what the beautiful part about AppleVis is that you can come to the discussion forum and ask, and hopefully somebody that will be there to help you answer those questions. But you shouldn't have to come to a site. You shouldn't have to listen to a podcast for that, though, guys.
Well, if you're think of the average user would be like an iPhone SE type of a user, right? Someone who wants to get an iPhone or is on an iPhone, but they're not going to go out and spend, $1,200-$1,500 on a phone. They're going to be in that like $500 to $700 range. So it's going to be a regular version of whatever's out in the time, or maybe a previous version. They'll pick up a 15 right now, regular, or maybe they'll pick up a 16 regular, or possibly an SE, especially when the new ones come out. And take away all of the special features, all of the AI stuff, and all of that. If you put a iPhone in someone's hand, who is going to tell them how to edit text and go, oh, if you want to jump from one letter to another letter, or word from word, or line by line, or any of these things, that you use the rotor and this is where it is and how you use it and all of that. There's like most people don't even know what the rotor is. It's kind of like, you have to sit down with someone who is a doctor with a master's degree to explain to someone who's an average user, oh, this is the rotor and this is how you use it. They need to be more upfront or make things easier for the majority of average users to do basic stuff like edit text and whatever,
Well, I can say on the flip side of the coin, I can say that visual sighted people probably have just the same problem. Let's just say, my mom, she wouldn't have she have no clue how to add a new account to a mail once you've added one. How do you re-add a second one? There are little things like that it's going to be kind of a hunt, and you're just going to have to be adventurous. And I can see it both ways. I see it both ways, but I feel like when you come out with something like this and it's hidden, then you need to come out and tell us about it. It's something as obvious as a writing tool. This is kind of a big deal. Tell us about it. How do you use it and stuff like that? But no, you're right. I mean, the lesson training thing that they have on the iPhone is very basic. It doesn't go into the details of characters and headings and how about text selection. It definitely doesn't talk about that. Though there are more advanced things that are not covered as well. So you would probably have to get a book or get somebody to teach you that. So nonetheless, the other Apple Intelligent that I found was a complete flop for me is a notification summary. This is a different summary. This is not the same summary that we were talking about. I want to summarize this web page. Now, this is when you get a group of messages, for example. So somebody, a family is texting me and they're all texting. You'll get this new summary notification. So it summarizes based on what this conversation is having. I don't know, guys. I end up having to turn that thing off. It drove me batty because half the time, especially on mail, it would group up a couple of mails and it would just summarize both. And I was like, what are you doing? That's the same for within mail. If you go and see what's new and if there is a thread going on, there's a summary in there too. And it drives me bonkers. What do you guys think of the notification summary? Do you like it? Do you keep it on?
I haven't really had a chance to play with it very much. It's on by default, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not. It's turned off.
No? It is. Okay, then that's why I haven't played with it. I didn't realize that it wasn't on.
You have to turn on AI to enable that.
Well, I thought
See, here's another thing. A lot of people, at least in the beginning, they think once they installed 18.1 that AI was automatically going to be up and running. But in reality, you actually have to go and request after 18.1 is installed to be a part of the AI thing. So a lot of people didn't know that. So
I didn't.
Right.
But
So you don't even get any IEA stuff until you go and request. And then you got to wait until you get accepted into it.
Right. And I found it in the settings. So I went ahead and said, yeah, I want to be a part of this, but I haven't heard any more since then.
And when did you do that, John?
Last Wednesday.
Right. So
meaning Wednesday, the 20th of November for those listening later on.
Right. So that just goes to show you that a lot of people probably think, oh, I installed 18.1 and they're going, well, it doesn't seem like anything is any different, with AI. It's just kind of is what it is. I bet you majority of the people don't know that they need to go into the settings after 18.1's installed and request to be a part of it. And then you got to wait till they send you a message saying, okay, welcome to blah, 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 whatever they say.
Apple says that was on purpose. That is to make sure that you consent into doing that, because there's a lot of that goes behind the AI. A lot of people have a lot of fear of data mining and collecting your information. So I've heard someplace that they did that on purpose, that you have to opt in yourself to be able to turn this on, and then clearly state what is and what isn't being used when you use this AI function.
So they're covering themselves.
Of it,
they're covering themselves. But they should not liable for anything down the line.
They are, but when you install 18.1, like anything else, when your phone reboots and you're completely updated 18.1, there should be a notification that says, if you want to opt in and do the AI features, do these steps or whatever.
You think
they don't tell you anything.
No.
Right? Exactly. That should have been kind of a big thing. That should have been out of day one. I totally agree. Would you like to opt into Apple Intelligence? Now, I thought I got the prompt for that. I thought I did, but I don't remember exactly, but I thought that did pop up.
You did not, because John didn't know. He had to find it on accident.
Well, that could have been because maybe at the Verizon shop, they probably started it already and went through the setup process and did that for him. I don't know. But that could be. I'd be curious out there if others have seen the prompt for that. Send me an email at AppleCrunch@AppleVis.com. I'd like to hear about that.
Do you know how it is when you get a new phone? You just skip by stuff to get rid of it so you can start using it. That could have happened.
Right.
That could have happened.
That could have happened too.
Could happen. So, Marty, since you do have that, did you find the notification summary drive you batty, or do you like the feature?
I don't know. It's kind of like 6 one way, half a dozen the other.
Right.
I kind of just look at it and go, oh, I got a text message for Thomas. Let me text him back real quick. I mean, it doesn't change anything for me really. Like, I'm not going, oh my gosh, this is out of the ordinary, better than before. And I'm so whatever,
I find half the times it works great, half the times it doesn't. The beautiful part about this is that the notification summary can be adjusted per apps. I find certain apps do a great job of this. Here's an example. I have a Ring doorbell. Every time that goes off, right, I'll have a group of it. It's trying to summarize that there's a motion detected at your door. I'm like, I don't need that. And so you can go under settings and go down to apps at the very bottom and then find Ring doorbell. And then there should be an item to turn off the notification summary for that particular app. Now, sometimes it does work well, like messages. So if you do have a group of messages on your lock screen, it'll give you a summary. And you'll notice that it's grouped. So if you double tap that, then you'll be able to expand and then read each of the texts one by one. And so in some cases it works, some cases don't. And so that's what I've been finding is kind of a hit and miss. I don't think people realize you can turn that on per app base. Once again, this is kind of a Marty and I kind of thing, is that how in the hell are we supposed to know about that? So it was one of those things I read and I said, oh, I didn't know we can do that. And I looked and sure enough, it's there. It's a learning curve with this Apple Intelligence, but nonetheless, it's 18.1. And funny enough, we were just talking about this and we think so far what we've seen is kind of so-so. And and we felt like they're way behind. And it's turned out a leak memo from internal Apple survey from their group also found out the inside group are thinking they're about 2 years behind other leading AIs. I said, yep, that's about right. And what's really surprising is that they're comparing it to ChatGPT, and they think that ChatGPT is only 25% better than what Siri gives you. I'm thinking, no way. That 25% sounds really low. There's no way.
95% better.
You're right.
There's no way. Siri is not. And currently now in 18.1, it's not great. It's pretty bad a lot of the time.
But 18.1 has enhanced it a little bit. So if you ask more advanced questions, it has done. I've noticed a difference. I have noticed a difference when it comes to certain questions. So it has more depth, but it's not in depth or as deep as ChatGPT. Now, the other one they mentioned is that they're finding that you can get 30% more correct answers or get the right answers you want than Siri. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's again, I found. But nonetheless, it's still young. I have to get Apple credit for at least starting it. I don't know, guys. I can't help to be disappointed with Apple, and I know they like to take their time. And he says himself, the same question. A lot of people have been asking him, you guys are really behind here. And he finally just says, not first, but best. So,
yeah.
What are we talking, Tim? Are we talking 2-3 years? I mean, you guys are really late to this party. I know this takes a lot, but I'm really disappointed where they are now, and they keep delaying stuff. And
it's taking them 2 or 3 years to catch up. And while that's happening, everybody that's ahead of them are making a stride. So how long is it going to take them to catch up?
Well, here's another thing you also have to think about is they're taking an existing technology, ChatGPT, and they're trying to bake it into their own technology. They're not taking all of their own technology and building it from the ground up. So how much are they getting sort of roadblocked, maybe not roadblocked, or maybe only getting, they've got to rely on ChatGPT, to incorporate all of whatever they want to do into whatever they're trying to incorporate it into as a native product, right? So does that slow them down? Does that speed up the process? I mean, what does that do? We don't know in the background. Because everybody's trying to use ChatGPT and incorporate it into their thing, right? So, ChatGPT is just sitting back going, gosh. Hey, look, we're just,
And everybody's spending a bunch of money to make this happen. And when is the money going to go away?
Well, I'm almost with what Marty was saying is that here's the deal. I think it was a great catch on their part. So we're going to incorporate ChatGPT later this year with our Apple Intelligent. To me, I immediately thought, that means two things. One, they're just going to have to rely on somebody else, or two, they're going to have to rely on somebody else and while they catch up. That's the one I think they're going to do is the latter part. The problem is what Marty says. Okay, it takes you 2 years to catch up. Well, guess what? If this was hard for me to believe. Yesterday was the second anniversary of when ChatGPT was released. In 2 years, we've gotten this far. I mean, we have gone incredible distance. Can you imagine what 2 years is going to be like on those platforms that Apple is still trying to catch up today's AI technology? So they better put the foot down to the pedal. Right now, I feel like they're in a granny car. They're going to have to get out of that granny car and get into something that's a lot more livelier, like a Porsche, and start pushing on it, because I think you guys are going to be left behind. And I know that Apple is going to, at some point, want to replace those ChatGPT and other items in place of them. But it's going to take a lot for me to move back. I mean, you just lost me already. So that just shows you what kind of delicate balance you guys are working with. I'm not trying to bash Apple. I'm just trying to be realistic with them. Is that, wow, they were way behind. My God, if you look at the Copilot, you look at Gemini, you look at ChatGPT, and my goodness, look at Ali. or Ally that's coming out in Envision. It's just incredible technologies out now or will be. And here's Apple Intelligence that gives me this half-baked writing tools, and there's other stuff that's like, that's not really AI that I thought of. So bring up 18.2. So we're fast forwarding. 18.2 will be out on December 9th. So write that down. That is going to be a big day for those that have Apple Intelligent devices. Now, the good news is that the folder option is fixed. Summary is fixed. And the type to Siri focus is fixed. So there's a lot of accessibility fixes in that. I will have to double check on the AppleCast thing, but nonetheless, Apple seemed to wait until 18.2, which was terrible, but nonetheless, it's coming. The only disappointment I have with 18.2, maybe it's not disappointment. I'm just get kind of confused. The audio ducking. So, as you all have seen or maybe heard my podcast on audio ducking, it's a mess. I think it's great that we are able to change the ducking level to what we like instead of a hard set like in the previous 17. Now, the only thing that was confusing was that they started at 100%. And I think that confused the heck out of everybody, including myself. So if I would adjust it to 150%, that means that voiceover will be stay the same, but the media would be lower 50%. Doesn't make any sense, does it, guys?
No. But let's take one step back just for a quick second. And for those maybe who don't know what audio ducking is, you want to give a quick primer just so people understand what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's a settings that's for voiceover users that you can turn on, and it allows you to adjust how your voice sound over music, movies, or background noises. So if I got on a phone call, for example, this is a big one for me. So when you call your doctor's office, they say press 1 for scheduling, press 2 to talk to this, blah, 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 blah. It's hard to hear that voiceover at the same time while they're talking. So it's really hard for me to hear that. So audio ducking allows you to turn this option on, and so it ducks the background noise down so you can hear voiceover talk better. So now when I go to the doctor's office and I have this set, I can hear it talking, and then when voiceover pops up and starts talking to me, 1, 2, 3, the numpad, it comes out really loud and clear, and it ducks the voice in the background. This is the same for movies, or if you're, let's just say I'm listening to music and I get a text message, good luck trying to hear that text message over your music. So with audio ducking on, it reduces the music down, and then I'm able to hear my voiceover. Oh, that's what the message is said. So the new audio ducking does, it allows you to control how much to duck and how much not to duck. So previously it would duck halfway. So 50%, it would just duck down. Sometimes it was a little too strong. Sometimes it's not enough for some people. So you're able to control that. So they came out with this, I don't know what idea they came out with. I'm glad that they were able to give us more control of that, but how they did it was very confusing. And I think they got a lot of complaints because in 18.2, it goes back to kind of like the way it used to be. So you now see the level says 50%. That means that is going to duck the media or the background noise to 50%. So instead of setting it to 150%, which doesn't make any sense to anybody. So when it asks you how much do you want to duck, you just now adjust that accordingly. So if you want it a little louder, you can set it to 80, 90%. You want it less, you can set it to 10, 20, 30%. So that has changed again. So my podcast I did on it, I have to do it all over again because they changed it.
Yeah, they were supposed to implement a lot of this stuff into the new Voice Memos app also, but I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem a whole lot different, honestly.
For me,
Right.
for some reason, I've had problems with voiceover being loud enough to tell me who's calling me when the phone rings. Now, I've got a loud ringtone, and so I changed ringtones for that very reason, because I can never tell who's calling me until I pick up the phone and hear their voice. And I'd like to have a good differential so that voiceover tells me in advance. Not that I get that many junk calls on the cell phone, but I do occasionally. So
yeah, so look for that podcast. I'll be re-updating and revisiting it. I think it's something that we all can use. And I showed you how to set it on and off quickly. So if you don't want it on all the time, which I don't, and there's certain times I want it on, just give that a listen. But nonetheless, it was changed. Now, there is a new accessibility settings with an 18.2. It's a very minor one for most of us. We won't ever use this, but for those with the 16 phones, you got that cute little camera control on the side of your device that allows you to control your photos and your video. There's an accessibility settings now for that. So if you feel like the delay between tapping on that button is not enough for you, you can delay that and set it the way it worked for you. So that is now new in accessibility area. They did do
going to that, just for going to that camera button just for a quick second.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that was driving me nuts was that I would always hit that button on accident, just because how you grip your phone, you know, and it got me thinking, is this going to be more of a headache than it's worth? So in order for me to make a better experience for myself, what I did was I went into the camera settings and I found that you can actually change that button to be a double click instead of a single click. That way, if you accidentally hit it the first time, it will not invoke anything and take you out of what you're doing and then open the camera and do all of that. So now I double click it to invoke, you know, whatever you want to have it set at the camera. I don't really use the camera all that much for photos, but I use like the barcode scanner a lot more. So I was able to go in there, change that button to be a double click, and then also change it to invoke the barcode scanner instead of the camera. So now if I do hit it, it's not going to just go, oh, now we're leaving what you're doing and we're opening the camera because you hit the button on accident. Now it doesn't do that. Now you have to intentionally double click it for it to invoke whatever you want to set it to be, because you can go in there and you have some options to change it to other things. But that's what I did, and it helped me a lot.
How good is the barcode scanner with regard to accuracy as compared to other apps that are available?
It works fine. I have no issue with it, really, as long as you point it where you're supposed to point it.
Well, yeah, that's the key. That's the major key, finding the spot where you need to read.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't have a detector, go to let you know it's right there. So it would be difficult. It's not as easy as just finding a barcode and snap it. It's just, I wish it was that simple. On paper, it looks great, but I have to play with that. It never was that simple to me.
Yeah.
But I will say, I agree with you. My wife has an iPhone 16 Pro Max, and by the way, that phone is just it's so freaking huge, guys. It's not even funny. It's just like, my God, this is huge.
You need
anyway,
a
but you're right.
It's almost like an iPad Mini, really.
Yeah, right. It's like an inch and a half different from the iPad Mini. But yeah, I always tease her about that. But you're right. I mean, the way you grip your phone, all the buttons at the top half, so you grip the phone at the bottom half, and by golly, that's just a good place to put a camera button right in the bottom half where you can squeeze it. However, I will say the case that my wife got, it was smart. So it must have kind of knew that was going to be an issue. So it has a cap on it. So you have to lower the cap down or a cover to be able to access the camera button. And so you open up the flap and there's your camera button. Otherwise, you can't accidentally press that. And I wonder if other cases are like that too, if there's a flap or if that's just wide open on that end.
Yeah, but you want to know what's terrible about that and why that just sounds ridiculous if you think about it is, what's the point of the camera? Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, I couldn't get the picture because I couldn't open the cap button on my phone to hit the camera button and I missed it. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
And usually those caps are pretty flimsy and they fall off anyway. Yeah.
So you gotta be careful. I was trying to upsell the case business here, guys.
It's a good idea. It's got problems.
There goes the kickback that I'm going to get.
And now your wife is no longer going to listen to this podcast, right?
But I know what you're talking about. I agree, and I'm glad that you mentioned there's also a settings for if you want that to be tapped once or double tap to activate it. That's nice. That's a good tip there.
I hope that like AppleVis has done with what's new in this iOS category, those series of podcasts, you'll do something very similar at the appropriate time for AI and come out with a whole bunch of different AI categories so that people can look through it and kind of get an idea in terms of what's coming and how to use it.
Yeah.
That's great and all. It makes my life difficult because...
Oh, I know.
So here's the thing I really do love about 18.2. So it isn't a disaster all around. There is one positive thing that's this whole thing, is that you do get ChatGPT integration. So you just have to turn that on. And once again, you have to turn that on separately. Even though you have AI turned on, you still have to go back under Apple Intelligence under settings to find the Chat GPT to turn that option on to go through this whole rigmarole, consent to it, turn it on. However, that made a huge difference for me. I love this a lot because I use ChatGPT all the time. Now I don't have to go nearly as much back to my ChatGPT standalone app. I still have to sometimes. But for example, now when I implement Siri, it actually, if it can't figure it out, it will go to ChatGPT and get the answer for you. Now, I will say that I think the default prompt is quick and to the point. You can ask again to prompt again to give me more details, and I'll give you a little more details. But with that on, friends, is that now I can go to photos or say I'm on Facebook and I'm under photos. I can tell Siri, look at the screen or look at that photo. And it will describe it to me exactly what that photo says. It's not like Be My Eyes level at the first time you ask, but if you prompt it again for a description, for more details. I haven't tried to see if I can just jump the prompt and say, hey, can you look at this and give me more details? I imagine you could, but I'll have to try it. And it gives pretty thorough examination of your photo, which is absolutely cool. And it'll actually tell you what's on the screen. So if there's something that's not accessible, it will tell you what's on the screen. And I can just ask it, what is that button that's labeled as arrows? And it'll tell me, oh, that's your settings. And I don't know how it knows that or what, but nonetheless, it was incredible. The writing tools, guess what? The podcast I did in writing tools, well, it needs to be thrown out too, because they revamped the writing tools to include the Chat GPT. I'm not complaining, but I have to redo it. So you still have the bottom half of your writing tools is the Apple writing tools. Isn't it funny? I don't understand why they put the Apple version down the bottom, the GTP at the top, but you are right set into the prompt. So I can do this. So I can write an email to John saying, hey, you got to check out this iPhone 16 Pro. I absolutely love that they give you X number of space and da-da-da-da. And I can just stop there and I can go to my writing tool, gives my prompt. I said, I want you to include what I said to John, plus a summary of what the iPhone 16 Pro specification, da-da-da-da, GPT style. And it puts it all in there. It says, oh, Apple released the iPhone 16 Pro and such date. It has 16 gig of RAM and da-da-da-da. And it is just like, wow. And then I can say, okay, I want to rewrite this with a casual tone. Or I want to rewrite it based on the writing style that I written to John. And you can do that. And it's just mind-blowing. So that perspective is huge. But it's sad that I had to get GPT to do that, not Apple Intelligent. And then they stuck the Apple Intelligent down the bottom half. It's like, I never use the bottom half anymore. Yeah, it's just incredible. So I think if you are a prompt guy and you like that, what I've just mentioned, you're going to love 18.2. And catch this. Here's as a bonus. To use ChatGPT, you get a limited number per day using the advanced GPT. This is the stuff that you have to pay for. Typically for $20 a month, you get that feature for free, but you get a limited number of it. I have never ran out of it during the day, but at some point, if you run out of that, then it goes back to the basic 4.0 free version. So that's just another thing, just to kind of show you how amazing that is. And somebody told me you can prompt for images, but I haven't been able to do that yet. But speaking of images, this is another one I thought, oh my gosh. You probably heard of the image playground that they mentioned at the WWDC.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm never going to use it. First of all, it's all cartoon, so it is real. It's true. It's all cartoons, and you do have a selection to choose from cartoon or illustration. So there is no photorealistic or really nice. So they give you really stupid stuff.
Well, they got like the emoji thing as well, where you can, try and come up with whatever emoji, and
that part is cool. But the image itself, it'll give you a list. Oh, you want a cowboy hat? And so you create this cartoon cowboy hat and you can put it on your photo. I'm like, I don't know.
It's a novelty
I just
thing, it
don't
sounds
know.
like.
But that also has to have a waiting period as well. So you have to access a waiting period for the playground if you want to access that. That one did take me a long time to get into, so I can imagine it may not be for everybody. But I think you're going to be disappointed with that. I tried to do like Santa with a Mickey Mouse ears on it, and I wouldn't do it. And I think it was because it's copyrighted. And I was like, "Are you serious?" So it's again.
Yeah, they probably don't want to pay Disney, if they paid Disney a lot of money for being able to do that. Probably.
I'm sorry. I think it's also a flop.
Yeah.
So I'm just disappointed, but nonetheless, I think Marty, you're going to love the ChatGPT. I don't know if John, do you use ChatGPT at all?
Yeah, I do. I mainly from the website because I have not figured out with the Windows app how to create the desktop shortcut because you're not given a choice to make it a desktop. They ignore it completely. So there must be a way around. What do you normally
use it for?
I just I've asked questions about various subjects and how to do stuff, mainly how to do stuff.
Yeah.
See, he's not using it like he's using it more as kind of like a modern day search engine. He's not using it like we use it.
Well,
yeah,
then that'd be perfect for you because it's baked into the Siri. So now you can ask all the questions that Siri can never answer, or it gives you dumb answers. So here's the web page for it. It doesn't do that anymore.
I haven't asked it how to write stuff. I should. I mean,
true. But now you can integrate that and ask questions away, so that you might be able to do away with it. But nonetheless, 18.2, I think Marty's going to love it. I really do.
Yeah, I'm excited. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks. Yeah,
it comes up on the 9th of December. So look for that. Obviously 18.3, there isn't a whole lot in there to look forward to. 18.4, we're going to have more of a more ability to interact with Siri, to interact with things on the phone itself, which might be useful. I have to see it before I can make any statement on it. But believe it or not, there's already discussion of iOS 19 already. And the reason I bring this up, because every December around this time, this is when Apple kind of goes back into their think tank and think about what's going to be coming out for the next version of iOS. And so this is usually when they kind of come up with an alpha version of what they're going to be seeing. Unfortunately, I thought the way Apple handled 18 was terrible, as in, we'll just roll out these things over the next year was bad. It sounds like they're going to do the same thing. It says they have a good resource that telling people that iOS 19, that majority of the new features you're going to hear at WWDC in iOS 19 is not going to be available for another year. So what I'm saying is that when we hear in iOS 19 next year, 2025, the majority of the new features won't be available till 2026. To this point, I'm just like, give up. Why you? I don't understand why you're doing this. Why are you teasing people? You used to be known as this is what's going to come out, and this is the day. And now you're saying we're just going to do previews, and this is what you should expect in the next year. This is just so un-Apple.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how things go and see how things move forward. It's going to be kind of I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, you guys aren't. I mean, do you feel the same way, or do you feel like
when people approach them with an opinion, yay or nay? It'd have to be a lot of people. Maybe they would change their schedule.
Right.
Somebody behind the scenes must have gotten Apple's ear and made them think about this alternative way of releasing things, because they probably went into all kinds of focus groups and had surveys and so forth, because they don't do anything without a survey these days. I think the users, maybe if they don't like it, should step up and write them and say, hey, this is not why we buy iPhones and upgrade to iOS. We want stuff, because everybody wants it now. They don't want to wait. So if you're not prepared to give it to them now, then don't say anything about it until it's ready.
Well, yeah, I agree 100% with what John just said, because think about this. WWDC is the time they announce all the new features. So what they've been doing the past few years is announcing whatever new features they want to announce at WWDC and gets everyone all excited. But then realistically, it takes them a whole nother year to roll everything out, because right now we're going into the first of the year, really, and we're just going to get the second round of new features. We're not even all the way there yet. There's a bunch of stuff that's not ready yet. There's still bugs. There's all the things. So it would be great, like John said, if they're going to make announcements of stuff, to have them somewhat ready, especially since WWDC, they make all the announcements and then they don't actually release the Gold Master until September, October-ish, depending on the year. So, it would be great if we wouldn't have to wait a whole entire year for all these things to actually finally come, because here we are going into the first of the year and March is going to hit and everyone's going to start talking about what's coming in June at WWDC again. And I'm going, we haven't even got all the stuff from last year,
So you guys are on the same boat as me. So you're just kind of flustered and just really surprised that Apple is doing the catch up, or like, we're going to just release it and rollouts. I don't know. Is it just me, or is just this has been just really disappointing?
It is disappointing, and I would be very curious to find out what their money situation is with regard to people ordering phones in October, November, December. Is it down this year because of the change, or are people still buying at the rate that they were a year or two ago? I have not looked into that, so I don't know the answer, but
we will find out the next quarterly revenue. And now last quarter, they actually were up a little bit. I only think that's because the prices has gone up and you're just getting more money out of that device. But we'll find out next month. But what irks me is that I see Apple commercials all the time touting their go get our latest iPhone 16 that has Apple Intelligent. I'm like, oh, that was back when it wasn't even out yet. And not only that, but you only get 18.1 Apple Intelligent. You're like, where is it? It's like, this is it. That's just, no wonder Tim Cook has been saying, yeah, it's not about being first, it's being the best. I'm like, right. That's a good CEO response to try to hide the fact that this is not reality. This is not what people are expecting now. Okay, so I'm glad I'm not the only one disappointed. I'm sure a lot of listeners are disappointed with that too. But I sent you guys both an article that was really fascinating, and was that this talks about exactly what we're talking about. And that is, there has been talk within Apple, really, maybe this is why, of not doing that what they usually have done, meaning that every year you need to know that every September is going to be a new phone, or every March is going to be the new Mac, or whatever those months we always know to love in the past may change. And that makes more sense. Now, it's a double-edged sword, because I think that they're really talking about maybe because people say from year to year to year, it's like, well, it's not much of an update each year. I think Apple's starting to realize that. So maybe we need to hold back until we have a really big splash that we want to make. Maybe we should release it every year and a half, whatever that is. This doesn't tell you specific, but the point is that Apple is internally thinking about redoing what we come to love about these keynotes in certain months may change, and that makes more sense. They need to get back to the root, meaning that if you have your WWDC, that iOS is going to have that version. If it's not going to be out, then don't tell about the new features and stuff until later. And that when you are ready to announce it, then announce it. So it's interesting that Apple is thinking about changing that. And do you guys read that article?
Yeah. Well, here is my personal thoughts. Okay. So over the past few years, up until the 15, right? We'll talk about phones for a second. Majority of people don't need a new phone. People are buying 13, 14, they don't need a new phone. They're so powerful now that you don't need to buy a new phone next year. There's nothing for the average consumer that is so groundbreaking, from the 13 to the 14 that they feel like, oh my gosh, I have to run out and go get a new phone, and because of that, sales are slowing down. So I feel like they're going, all right, well, so if you want to use these features, you don't have to. It's not a requirement. You'll get a majority of the new features on the phone you already have. But if you want the latest and greatest with all the AI stuff, then you got to upgrade to a 16 or something newer, depending on when you're looking at, right? So then that's one thing. And then let's go and let's look at iPads, right? Somewhere along the way, someone says we need to start putting M chips in the iPad, right? So now they start out with the M1, and when they had a chip in an M1 chip in the first iPads across the board, you heard the same thing from everyone. These iPads are so powerful that there's no software that runs, on these. Like there's nothing for the power, right? It's like having all this power, but for what reason? Like there's nothing to go on the iPad that needs this much power. And that's what everyone was saying when we had the M1. Now we're all the way to the M4 and we're still pretty much in the same boat. There's no reason to have an M4 or even an M2 necessarily in an iPad. What do you need all that power for? And so people aren't needing to have to feel like they want to run out and go buy new stuff every year, new hardware every year, because what they have, even currently right now, if you have an iPad Pro with the M1 processor in it, it's still so powerful, you can pretty much do anything you want. You don't really need to go out and get a new one. I mean, for the majority of people. So what I think is they're going to do what Thomas said, and they're going to start kind of taking a longer roadmap and developing the hardware, and when they release it, instead of every year, maybe it'll be every 2 years or maybe 3 years, depending on what it is, They'll probably do phones faster, but they'll probably slow down on iPads and the actual hardware for computers, laptops, and desktops. But what they will do now is they're going to start finding ways to charge a lot more money across the board for all of the services they're going to have to offer, because they're going to include ChatGPT and they're going to have this and that, and they're going to find ways to have way more software business and make people intrigued to have to pay, for all the software and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll see how it all goes, but that's what I think.
Good point, Marty. You made some very good points, and this is for everybody to kind of just think in your mind. And reality, this is the way I see it. If they truly think they are going to take a little bit longer to release things, I think that's a perfect idea, because that will eliminate a lot of the overhype that they offer and not getting it at the day of. So that would solve that problem. But it's a double-edged sword for them, because that means lost revenue. So they've always had revenues every single year because they got every single new product. I agree with Marty. I think the iPhone is not going to be the first one. I think here's a good example. So when we saw the iPhone comes out, what was the one thing that was missing? Was the Ultra. We're like, where's the new Apple Ultra watch? And guess what? That was the first indication where people started thinking, they didn't come out with it. And I think we're going to start seeing that in certain products. So I think the watch for sure is going to be more slow down. I think the iPad is going to slow down. Computers, I'm going to find that going to be the second of the last thing to slow down, because the computers, the way they do, they're blowing the doors off of everybody. And I think they want to keep that command. And if you get a 30% increase every single year on a chip, holy geez, I would keep putting the pedal down to the metal until you get to like Intel, where they only get like 10, 15% different each year. It's not worth it for processing. But Marty also make a good point. Those iPads are so overpowered. It's like having a Dodge Hellcat car going through a school zone. You got all that power, but you can't use it because you're going through the school zone. You can only do 20 miles per hour, and you got all that thing under the hood. It's just not being used. Yeah, they're going to tout gaming, and that's why they said that's where the processor come in. I'm thinking a majority of people don't use it for that kind of a gaming, and a lot of people, I think that Apple's even realizing that I was reading here that they're disappointed on the number of people actually using for a gaming device, so it's not going as well as they want. But anywho, I think in order for them to prolong things, I think prices are going to have to come up, because they're going to be losing that revenue and they're going to have to make it up somewhere else. And so I guarantee you they're going to stick it to us somewhere, somehow. Maybe that goes back to a couple months back when I talked about, would you pay for AI for Apple Intelligence? Because I was talking about how that might be a new service. Maybe that's what they're already thinking down the roadmap. It's like, all right, we're going to delay these iPhones, but it's going to cost them. And you're going to have to pay for it in services somewhere, somehow. Yeah, I think Marty's right.
They're able to extend when it comes to the computers, their technology, and they're able to really utilize it to its fullest ability without spending a huge amount of money and having a lot of options. Because look at, they haven't changed. The last thing they changed was the Airs and the Pros, right? And they changed those, and they've been sticking with that design. But look what they've done now. That chip is so powerful that you can go in, and for the average person, you can get, an M2 chip still, and they've changed the base to 16 gigs of RAM without even charging any more money. So you can literally walk into a store, an Apple store, and you can choose, okay, what do I do? What kind of power do I need? And honestly, even if you get a baseline, and the baseline M2 MacBook Air with 16 gigs of RAM is what it is right now, that's going to do more than the majority of people need it to do. I mean, it's so overpowered that the average person, what do? You write papers as a student, you do email, browse the web, listen to music, whatever. Like, it's so overpowered. So you're looking at an M2 with 16 gigs of RAM. If you need a little bit more power, you get an M3. And if you need like way more power, you get an M4, but they're able to...
You're saving a lot of money doing that too, because I was just looking for a MacBook Air for my wife. I looked at an M2 chip and they were like $600 and some odd dollars for a new MacBook Air M2.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, and you could still get an M1, but the only unfortunate thing about the M1s is they still only have 8 gigs of RAM. But even if you get an M1 with 8 gigs of RAM to do the basic stuff, it's going to blow the doors off the majority of computers out there. Like, you're not going to get a Windows machine that's going to be that powerful, that strong, and last that long, for $600.
Exactly. It's going to be a lot more bang for the buck if you got an M2 than if you were to get a 3-year-old Intel chip on a Windows. No doubt about it, because that chip will be outdated in a couple of years, where the M2, it will give you another 4 or 5 years of life on that before you can't update the OS on it. So big difference between the two.
They're not updating, the computers, as much, but they're making a lot more options. You can walk in and get a Mac now at a reasonable price and have something more powerful than anything on the market, where it used to be you got to pay thousands of dollars just to get in at an entry level. It's not like that anymore. So that's one thing I think that they've looked at, going, all right, we don't need to update the hardware really all that much, but we now have a choice for everyone. I mean, look at this new Mac Mini. You can get in at $600 for an M4 with 16 gigs of RAM. And yeah, it's only 256 on the SSD, but you can get external hard drives all day long. You can get cloud all day long, right? And you can get by with that. I mean, and if you really, really, really wanted more internal, hardware or, hard drive space, it's a couple $100 to get it up to 512. But it's still going to be so overpowered, it's going to last forever. I mean, like...
True. So this is Christmas
people got all
time
kinds
here.
of options.
You have all sorts of things, holidays coming up, and that's one thing you should think about, is looking at the M2s, M1s. I think the M2s are definitely where you want to be, except for the Mac Mini. You just stick with the M4 for that price. But the point is that don't be surprised to start seeing some products taking longer or not being updated every year as you expect. And I think you're going to slowly but surely see that. And I think this is just to show you, and I'll leave the article in the show note for you to read about that, how they want to maybe change the roadmap from what we used to know. But speaking of the holidays, my friends, let's start to close up now. I decided to close things up. There's a couple of things. The first thing is Apple released. So first of all, Apple Music released the best 100 albums of all time. Gosh, I think back in the summer, and I was just totally flabbergasted that if you look at this top 100, I was so disappointed with it. But the point is that Apple decided they're going to release a special limited time, limited series books, 1,500 of these Apple books of the best 100 albums of all time. And it's a book that you can get for your table or your coffee table. And You guys see the price of this thing? $450 for a book.
Yeah,
is that what's going to be our Christmas present from you, Thomas?
It's
There'll be all
of,
the books that they didn't sell. I'll have Apple send me the ones that didn't sell, and I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah, you better make it
seem
accessible for $450. But
I would love to know how much it cost them to make that book.
Probably not much.
It can't be that much. I mean, my God, I was one of those idiots that bought the Apple polishing cloth. You know, it was $20. Have you seen these polishing cloth? It can't be more than, I don't know, 5 by 5 inches.
Yeah, but it has an Apple logo on it. That's worth
that's
$19.
It has this really itty bitty little imprint of an Apple logo at the very bottom left-hand corner. You couldn't even feel it. You couldn't even see it if you weren't looking for it. So, yeah. So anyway, $450 for an Apple book of the best 100 albums of the year, which I think was it was terrible, because if you look at it, it seems like they didn't pick any bands before the 80s. It's like all those artists didn't exist before the 80s. I was like, what in the... I was like, so if you're not into music, and then this is not good for you.
Wait 6 months and you can get it for $10 on Kindle.
At Costco or something. Yeah. $450. Oh my God.
Wait until December 26th, and you're going to see him on sale for $375.
Yes.
25% off, lowest ever. I was just stunned. I was like, my God, only Apple could get away with this. I don't know. I would like to know if they sold a fraction of it, 10% of it. I would be surprised if it did, but who knows? But so that's out there for your holidays gift. The other two items I have, I'm going to share with you. The other one I've been looking at and eyeballing, I know a lot of you guys probably think I'm crazy, but I'll put in a YouTube link to a Nintendo alarm clock. So I'm a Nintendo fan. I love Nintendo games. And they made Alarmo. It's a motion action alarm. So when this alarm goes off, it'll detect if you're getting up or not, and I'll start doing weird noises, gets louder and things, and it's all Nintendo based. So if you get up slowly, you can hear you're grabbing the coins like you do in Mario World. It'll go ding, 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 ding. And then the more you get up and start running around, you're just collecting coins like crazy. I think it's just I love this. So if you're looking for something that's $99, I know it's not cheap, but if you're a Nintendo fanatic like myself, or if you have family that are, take a look at the Nintendo Alarmo. And then the last one on my list.
When you get up in the middle of the night and you got to go to the bathroom, is it going to start going?
No, thankfully it doesn't do that. It's just only when you get up on the alarm. Thankfully.
I saw that on the webpage that you sent out a couple of months ago. It's pretty interesting to watch that demo.
Isn't that funny just to listen to? It's just really cute. It's Nintendo style. It's just so everything about it that they've done is great touch. It's cute. It's fascinating, and it does keep you into that commercial and watching. It's like, wow. Lastly, this is a hidden secret one. So I know some of my family do listen to this and some don't. The ones that don't are probably not going to hear this. So anyway, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing this year is a prank. So Thomas is famous for pranking his family. So I found this gorgeous Meowie Christmas card. It is a Christmas card. It's a prank card. So it's by Joker's Greetings card. And so what this card is you sign the card and you put this into the envelope and you pull the tag and then you seal it up and you mail it off. And when that person gets it, when they open it, they're going to have this Meowie Christmas. So you hear this cat just singing a Christmas song. But the problem is it won't stop. It'll just keep meowing for hours on end. You cannot get it to shut up. And the best part of it is that if you try to douse it in water when it's waterproof. So you can't destroy it that way. And my favorite, if the only options you have is to rip out the battery, that makes sense, right? It's got a glitter bomb within the battery. So if they rip it open, the glitter bomb goes off and the glitter goes all over the place. So that
wow.
So you're going to have to clean up that mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet I'll be invited to come clean, but I'm going to be sending that out to random
This might be
family
the
members
last
this year.
Christmas present you ever send out to your family.
Yeah, I'm
I
not sure
thought
if
it
I
was
want to
hilarious.
be one of your good friends or not.
Damn, now you guys already know what I'm sending you. Darn it. Yeah. So there's a link in the show note of the YouTube to that item so you can hear for yourself what it sounds like. And if you are interested in ordering one, get it. It is awesome. I'm going to have a heyday. I'm waiting for the time to
only
get down.
$450, right?
But it'll be on sale if you wait till the 26th for $375.
Yes.
$375. Unfortunately, it's a little costly. It's $12 a card.
That's not much more than the cards you have to buy in grocery stores these days.
That's
Birthday
true.
cards
And
Christmas cards.
And this actually doesn't stop. So, I mean, see, it's got one advantage.
Yeah.
So that's my closing of the month. I wanted to kind of introduce a few things for people to think about. And if you're interested in, go for that items. Look in the show note. Mr. John, what do you got? So you got a new iPhone 16 Pro Max or Pro. So you're probably pretty set for Christmas.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to spend on
That's
me
all you're going to get for
Christmas.
yourself?
Yeah, probably. I can't.
Not going to get anything else? New microphone? No, nothing?
No, don't really need anything special.
Not going to treat yourself? You're retired and you're being frugal.
Well, I mean, I just spent money paying off my cruise to Hawaii next year. So that was a lot of money. So we're not.
You're going on cruise?
Yeah, we're not flying. We're literally cruising from the port near LA to Hawaii and back. So it's about a 15 or 16 day cruise. So
wow,
it's a good chunk of money, but it'll be a lot of fun. But that's.
What are you talking about? You didn't get anything. That's perfect. You got a new phone and you got a Hawaiian cruise out of the 2 week cruise for that matter. That's awesome.
And I'll take
Marty?
Take my Zoom recorder with me, and we'll see what happens.
There you
go. What cruise line?
Princess.
Oh, you're going on the Princess. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have to let me know what you think of it. And are there any port stops?
Oh, lots of them. Yeah.
Oh, so all along the Baja, I'm guessing? Or is it all U.S.? Or is it all Hawaii ones?
It's all Hawaii. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Stop all the different big islands. Oh, that would be beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
And have you been to Hawaii?
One time about 50 years ago with my sister and my mom when she was still alive, and my brother, Larry, and I. So, yeah, I've been there once. I'm looking forward to going back again. A lot has changed, I'm sure.
That doesn't show your age. Yep, 50 years ago we went on.
Yeah, bring my cane with me this time.
Jeez, Marty. What about you, Marty? Were you treat yourself to anything or ask for anything specific you want?
Yeah, I got the 16 Pro, so I got that, and I've been having fun playing with that. I picked up the Series 4, the higher of the two, with the noise cancellation and all that, AirPods.
Ooh,
so I'm good.
Nice.
I think. Yeah, so I've been having fun with that. I do have a little bit of new audio gear I got, but other than that, I'm good.
Well, new audio gear is kind of a big thing. That's what you do best, and that's what you got to have, right?
Yeah. But
good for you, man.
Yep. Having fun with it. Just doing my thing, having fun. So.
All right. Well, this is going to be for this month, AppleVis Crunch for December or November. It's not December yet, Tom. For 2024, we want to wish all of you a happy holidays because by the time we come back, it'll be the end of the year already, and we already gone through all the holiday at that point. Well, not everything, but the New Year's Eve, I suppose we'll be back before then. But happy holidays, everybody. Take care and season's greetings.
Have a good holiday, everyone.
This podcast was brought to you by the community at AppleVis.com. AppleVis, empowering people who are blind, deafblind, or who have low vision to get the most from Apple products and related technologies. A proud member of the Be My Eyes family. For more information, visit our website at www.applevis.com.